So I want to preface this video by saying that I don't mean to fearmonger by making this video. So take this video for however you will, but it is not intended to be a fear-mongering video. But I wrote a book. But let me explain, because I never thought I'd make a book like this. In fact, it was never intended to be a book. It was actually my personal notepad that only I was supposed to see. If you've been paying any attention at all to the news, again, not fear-mongering, but you do need to not sleepwalk into reality here, there are things going on behind our backs that has me very worried. I'm just going to be honest. There are things that are unconstitutional, illegal, just generally corrupt, that is going on behind our backs that the mainstream media is not even covering. That's not including the stuff that the media is covering, like the bombing in Yemen yesterday. There are things being done in and outside of the country, multiple things that are kind of unrelated to each other, all at the same time at a snowball rate that makes me feel like my general safety is at stake. And I'm not the only one. In fact, I didn't take it seriously until I saw multimillionaires preparing for what they speculate is a high probability of a war. What kind of war? Who knows? Who knows? There's so many different kinds of wars that could come from this, actually, which is actually more terrifying. It's like a box of who knows what could happen. But the fact, if you know millionaires, you know that they don't invest in anything they don't believe in. The fact that not just one or two, but the fact that bunker companies have came out and said that they have never been more busy than now screams everything to me. If multimillionaires are willing to spend millions of dollars on self-preservation, how high is this probability? Do they know stuff we don't? Now that I don't know. They're humans too, and they get nervous just like us. So I don't know if they're reacting based on inside information or if they're reacting based off of human instinct. But whatever the case may be, the fact that they're willing to spend so much money in self-preservation right now, more than any other time, made me realize, why am I not doing the same thing? Like, obviously I can't build a multi-million-dollar bunker, but I can do things to increase my probabilities of surviving a potential war. And I went down the rabbit hole. I started prepping, like doing bug out bags and buying binoculars and prep pantry stuff and going the whole 9 yards, as one does. But then I saw the movie Leave the World Behind, and there was a line in there that woke me up. It like shook me. It shook me awake. And that was a line, I am a useless human without my cell phone. That's what the dad said. And it hit me. I was like, oh my God, I didn't even think about that. And this is actually what the line in the book says, when power grids fail, do you know what to do? I realized the answer for that, for me, was no. I don't know how to do like 85% of things that are regarding to survival. I don't know. And if there's no internet access, how will I know in the moment where it matters? So I dropped everything that I was doing. Prepping aside, I sat down on my computer and I just started typing away general notes of different survival tactics and, everything that you would need to know. And I studied a lot of previous wars for the information. I studied natural, like, camping survival type stuff, and I meshed that information and put it into just a big PDF file. And I showed one of my friends what I was working on, because she loves to know what I'm up to, and I was like, well, this is my newest project. I didn't expect to be working on this right now. In fact, there's other things I have to focus on, but I feel like I just have to do this for myself. And I showed her what was in it, and she was like, this is genius. Could I have a copy? Because she said, I don't have the time to do this level of research, and I would absolutely die to have a copy. And I was like, yeah, like, no problem, of course you can have a copy. And we started talking about it, and she read more into it, and she's like, why don't you just make this, Amazon has a self-publishing platform, why don't you just make this a book? I can't imagine, if I don't have the time, thousands of other people don't have the time either. And what you have in here is invaluable. And she was like, I think you should go for it. And I was like, yeah, but like, that's kind of unexpected for me to do. Like, I mean, yeah, my research game is A1 because I have ADHD and I'm unmedicated, but I I don't, like, people are going to be so caught off guard. And she's like, who cares? If you save one person's life because you put in this information that saved them in the heat of things, then you've done something amazing with that, even if it's just one person who ends up buying a copy. She's like, I'm definitely gonna, I'd rather buy the physical copy than the PDF file. I will buy it too. And she was like, go for it. So I was like, okay, I guess so. I mean, those are good points. So I decided to take all of my notes that I wrote, and I wrote it in a format that is for a stranger to read, because originally it was meant for only me to understand. So then I converted everything, I cleaned it up, and that's where I came out when shit hits the fan. And that's what this phrase means, shit hits the fan. It's actually a very popular prepper phrase to say. I didn't make that up, but it's like a go-to prepper acronym. And so I made this book, and inside the book has hand guides within hand guides within hand guides. So it basically covers everything. Everything. I mean, if you want to understand how far I thought into this, there is a comic book in the back, and there is a coloring book as well. I did like a superhero theme, because I thought, well, what if I encounter, I don't even have kids. I was like, what if I encounter a kid and I have to protect this child? How am I gonna? So I was like, well, I'll have a coloring book and a comic book in it to entertain them, so that way we can reduce the trauma. And I thought, well, a lot of people have children, this would be important. So like, that's how in-depth I thought about this. There's a cookbook in here, there's a first aid guide with instructions, there's a communications page, here's the cookbook, the communications page, how to tie knots. The communications page is really cool because it has ASL, Morse code, and English to Spanish translations with graphs. And the English to Spanish, whether you want to learn it or just point at it when you encounter someone that you can't speak to, but you're trying to help. It has how to barter, the process of bartering. It has how to hunt, how to clean water, how to build a shelter, how you should wear, what kind of vehicles you should, checklists, everything. I even have a page for your pets, because I have 3 dogs, so I needed to know what was the protocol for the dogs, and everything. There's how to do firearm, makeshift weaponry. There's a lot in here. That's not even all of it, but I actually formatted it in a way that, even though it's a lot of information, it's very simple. In fact, this might upset a lot of book people, because it's not supposed to read like a book. It's supposed to read like a how-to guide. So there are very minimal paragraphs. I literally did not fluff it with any useless paragraphs or frills or personal stories. Originally I was trying to find a book in the market. I just looked online and tried to find a book that was like this, and there wasn't one that had either A, enough information, B, in-depth information. A lot of books covered only up to 72 hours, only for short-term displacement. A lot of them were very niche and only covered a specific element of survival. There just wasn't anything that had everything from A to Z. And so that's why I decided to create the notepad that eventually became a book. And it's formatted in a way that doesn't have any stories, because I know a lot of survival books have like personal stories, and I'm like, that's great, honey, but if there's a bomb going off, I don't have time to read the personal story and sort through the pages of that. I need to know, I need to flip it open and be able to see the information like that. And so that's how it's designed. You flip it open to the page, and it is spaced in a way that visually it's not going to be too much for you to absorb. It's not going to be overwhelming. I have ADHD, so big paragraphs are overwhelming. My brain just disappears. So it's designed in a way that you open it, you look, it's there step for step. You don't have to use brain power. And that's what I wanted. And so it's available. Ignore this. This isn't a not for resale sign. But I went for a vintage theme, so that way if it's at least a useless book to you and we never go through anything, it's a really nice coffee table book in the vintage aesthetic if you're into that style. So that is how I ended up coming out with the book. It comes out the 19th, so stay tuned. I'll do another reminder, but it'll be available soon.